In this world, people who have the ability to fight monsters are known as raiders. They hunt demons, obtain treasures, and protect humans along the way. While their job may be a dangerous one, people call them heroes. They're loved by everyone and envied by some because the idea of hunting and gaining treasures excites people. Those who manage to land this job can't help but feel jealous of other heroes. This story starts in a public restaurant where everything seems to be going fine until someone starts shouting. The one shouting is the protagonist of the story, known as Jae-hyun, and he's absolutely mad to hear that he's only being hired as a meat shield while raiding. The guy in glasses immediately tells Jae-hyun to simmer down because our hero was the one who wanted to make some quick cash with a job, and this is the only one currently available. Well, as much as our hero Jae-hyun might drag his feet, it seems he doesn't have much choice in the matter. Jae-hyun then reveals to us that the guy with glasses is Young Wooman, working at the raider agency. He hooks up people like Jae-hyun with jobs who aren't officially part of any guild. When Jung Wooman finally got in touch, our hero thought he'd scored a sweet gig. Turns out he's just getting a role of cannon fodder, standing frontline in a dungeon full of undead. It's like being told you're disposable shield of meat, ready to be ditched if things get hairy. Jae-hyun sighs and wonders why this is the only job available for him, especially when people lower ranked than him are landing high-paying jobs. Jung Wooman then reminds him about his martial arts class, which, despite being top-notch class, rarely gets job offers. Jae-hyun then gets even more annoyed, questioning if he's being underestimated just because he's a martial arts raider. The guy with glasses reluctantly agrees, explaining that in reality, magic users dominate the job market and snatch up all the requests. The truth is, martial arts raiders tend to take longer to finish jobs and get injured more often. That's something employers definitely take into account, and that's the harsh reality here. You see, unlike mages who stand at the back while hunting monsters, martial arts raiders are on the front lines and naturally prone to more injuries, and that is precisely why, in a fights, mages definitely have the advantage. The boy further reveals that about 10 years ago, martial arts raiders were in high demand. However, that's no longer the case, and he regrets not becoming a mage back then when he had the chance. It all started 11 years ago when our hero was in his 3rd year of high school. He aced the Awakened Aptitude evaluation and was chosen to attend one of the prestigious Mila's academies, specialized in nurturing raiders. At that time, his aptitude result for a mage was an impressive 97%, nearly a perfect score. Even the top students of the time only managed around 92%, like Lady Sioina. His results back then were unbelievable. On the flip side, his aptitude for a martial class was just 34%, and despite that, he made a dumb move and chose to become a martial raider. He didn't choose the martial class for any noble reason, he just didn't want to become a mage. Back then, mages had a bad rep because they were seen as mere buffers, unable to handle even low-ranking monsters without martial arts raiders backing them up. But times have flipped since then. Martial arts raiders are on the decline, while mages are now highly sought after. If our hero had gone for mage class 11 years ago, his life would probably be a lot better now. Even if he decides to switch classes now, raiders hit a growth plateau at age 20, so there's no room for improvement. I guess there's no point in dwelling on regrets since nothing can change now. Young Wooman then reminds our hero that opportunities like this are hard to come by nowadays, and he shouldn't be choosy. He further reveals that he was going to offer this job to someone else, but chose our hero instead, because he thought of him. Hearing this, our hero feels a mix of sadness and irony. His talent was one that was envied by all those who wanted to become mages at one point in time, but now his dumb choices has reduced him to just an insignificant D-rank martial arts raider. With no other options left, he decides to accept the job. His friend perks up happily upon hearing this, assuring our hero that he's making the right call. As our hero is about to leave, the manager informs him that he'll see Jae-hyun at 8 a.m. the next day at an address already sent to his phone. Curious, Jae-hyun asks why the manager will be there, assuming he'd be busy with agency work. Young Wooman casually reassures him not to worry and mentions he has some business there as well, so they'll meet regardless. The next day arrives, and everyone gathers outside one of the dungeon gates. There stands our hero alone. Jae-hyun checks the time and starts feeling jittery because Young Wooman still hasn't shown up, despite saying he would be there. He lets out a sigh, thinking maybe Young Wooman should be handling more capable raiders, considering he himself is just a D-rank martial arts guy and Young Wooman's an A-rank mage. Jae-hyun wonders why Jung Wooman bothers hanging around at a raider agency when he could join any guild he pleases with his skills. If Jae-hyun were in his shoes, he'd have found a better place somewhere by now. Suddenly, a thought pops into his head where someone calls him a useless bastard. It seems to be a part of Jae-hyun himself, though we don't know much about that yet. Lost in his thoughts, Jae-hyun hears someone calling out to him. It's Myung-ho, clad head to toe in armor, a friend of our hero. As they chat and joke around, Myung-ho seems pretty proud of being a martial raider. He thinks the younger generation doesn't appreciate how cool martial arts raiders are, compared to mages who he calls useless hobos standing at the back throwing fireballs. But Jaehyun doesn't see it that way at all. He feels being a martial raider is far from cool. In fact, they can barely afford food these days. Myung-ho encourages them both to do their best regardless of their position. He suggests they grab a drink after the raid, and Jaehyun agrees, but he quickly adds that he's broke and can't foot the bill. Myung-ho shoots back that it's not his turn to pay since he covered the last round. Jaehyun feels a bit awkward and embarrassed hearing this, but seeing Jaehyun's helpless look, Myung-ho decides to cut him some slack and agrees to pick up the tab once more. Jaehyun chuckles and apologizes for always letting his friend pick up the tab. Deep down though, he can't help but think Myung-ho is a bit too easy to sucker into paying again. Suddenly, someone abruptly arrives and instructs everyone to gather at the dungeon entrance as they'll be entering in 30 minutes from now. For some reason, everyone seems really worried and anxious upon hearing this, including our hero. It might be because they don't appreciate this new guy barking orders. In any case, the armored guy decides to head back to his party to prepare, while Jaehyun remains standing there, repeatedly checking his phone. While waiting for the raid to start, we learn that when raiders enter a dungeon, they need to be mindful of two things. The first is when they unexpectedly find treasure tucked away inside. Once they're pumped about the loot, their greed can mess with their heads. They stop thinking rationally, and that's when the dungeon decides to test them. Surviving that stroke of misfortune is rare. Usually it's a total disaster. As for the second thing, we'll have to wait to find out because the armored guy butts in again. He tells Jaehyun to quit staring at his phone. It's time to roll into the dungeon. Then he cracks a joke about our hero, stating that he is probably ogling his girlfriend's pic before getting inside the dungeon. Jaehyun waves off the comment, saying it's no big deal, but truth be told, he's actually peeking at a pic of his mom, not some girlfriend. After a quick word to his mom, he heads inside the dungeon. Once inside the dungeon, the mages hang back with their wands while the martial raiders walk up in the front line. Mindless ghouls immediately appear with their grotesque faces, and an arrogant wizard starts yelling orders at the martial raiders, demanding they form up even if it means risking their lives. This is exactly why our hero despises this job. He hates being bossed around by these jerks about what he should do, but he's got no choice but to follow orders. The mages begin chanting, conjuring their elemental powers, and start throwing sizzling fireballs straight at the zombies, turning the creatures into crispy critters. Jaehyun checks out the wizards and wonders if they're actually with the Meteor Guild, because that guild was just a rookie not long ago, but it appears that is not the case right now. Despite the tension, he figures today isn't his day to kick the bucket thanks to their power boost. While taking a moment of respite, Myung-ho grabs water and chugs it down to refresh himself, and points out that the dungeon's all about taking down the big boss now. The old man jokes about feeling his age, saying he can't keep up with others like he used to. The old man then asks if our hero got any item drops. He is feeling happy while asking this because A-rank dungeons usually have decent loot. The boy decides to check for himself, but as soon as he opens his system window, it starts glitching, and he feels a sudden headache. But then, another system message pops up, stating that the Aesir system is down, and the connection to the user will be temporarily disconnected. Then, another message follows, explaining that for unknown reasons, the Aesir system failed to reboot. Our hero has never been in such a situation before and has no idea what's happening. Suddenly, a voice starts speaking in his mind, urging him to follow the light. Startled, he turns around to see the glitching system notification stating that an unknown entity has infiltrated the system and the safe mode restoration is failing. Jaehyun is utterly clueless about what's going on. The old man notices his tense expression and asks if something's wrong. The boy simply explains that someone asked him to follow the light, and right on cue, something starts happening. These bubbles of light start appearing out of thin air. He wonders if this is the light he's supposed to follow. It looks like no one else can see this light other than our hero, and the old man asks why he's acting so strangely. With no clear answer, the boy's eyes stay fixed on the light. He swallows his fear and decides to check out what it is. When the old man asks where he's going, our hero assures him he'll be back shortly. After following the light for a while, he ends up in a strange place, and the system window immediately pops up, saying the Aesir system has been disabled and the status window can't be loaded. He tries to interact with the system, but it's unresponsive. Another notification arrives, stating there's partial damage and the system will attempt to reboot in safety mode. Jaehyun scratches his head in confusion, because ever since he first became an awakened at 10, the system has never gone down in those 17 years. There's never been any damage or reboots either. He wonders if the voice he heard is somehow related to the system going haywire. The system keeps glitching and bombarding him with the same failed notifications. Despite this, he continues to follow the light and wonders if something is changing within the Aesir system. A little background on the Aesir system. It's said to be named after the Aesir, the gods from Norse mythology like Odin and Thor. The system is believed to have emerged from Aesir, representing humanity's last hope and defense during the year of disaster back in 2011. During that time, a massive tree suddenly grew in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, towering to unimaginable heights in just 9 days, casting a shadow over the world. And that terrifying tree from back then was none other than Yggdrasil, the world tree from mythology. Once it fully sprouted on that 9th day, all hell broke loose. The world faced a catastrophic wave of monsters, with half of humanity perishing in the chaos and the rest struggling against famine and plagues. At the time of despair, true heroes emerged, wielding divine powers, bringing a glimmer of hope for mankind. Slowly, many people started to tap into their Aesir systems, becoming raiders to save humanity. From that point onward, Aesir has been humanity's greatest weapon against these monsters. But now our hero worries. If the Aesir system is changing, he fears things might not turn out well. Suddenly, he reaches a dead end and spots a green door right in front of him. He finds himself shocked at first, but then a smile spreads across his face when he reveals that this must be the treasure gate. Here's a bit about the treasure gates. These are secret rooms hidden within dungeons with a very low chance of appearing, even in high-level dungeons. They typically contain special items and rare materials that can fetch millions of won, which is a local currency in this world. Jaehyun's mind races with excitement as he realizes that finding an A rank or higher equipment could instantly change his dull life. He silently prays to the gods for a stroke of luck. As he steps inside, the entire place feels surreal, almost like he's stumbled into some heavenly registration office. Before him, on a pedestal, shines a brilliantly bright item. Jaehyun had heard rumors about such places in dungeons, but he never expected to stumble upon one himself. Nevertheless, he's thrilled to see the item and eagerly reaches out to pick it up. As soon as his fingers touch it, a barrage of notifications surrounds him. The first notification confirms that he successfully restored the damaged system feature. The second announces the discovery of a new piece of equipment, and the third offers to view the item details. Grinning from ear to ear, Jaehyun can't help but feel his prayer might have been answered. As he holds the item in his hands, the system panel reveals this time to be Odin's Lost Eye, a mythical ranked artifact. This eye belonged to Odin, the strongest god of the Aesir, sacrificed for wisdom at Mimir's well. Once equipped, our hero can learn rune writing and even reverse magic to dismantle or destroy it. It's the only mythical ranked item in existence, and once it's his forever. The eye shines so brightly that Jaehyun can't even look directly at it. Glancing at the system panel, he reads about its active skill, which is known as absolute calculation, an X-ranked skill that analyzes and destroys the structure of magic. This absolute calculation skill consumes mana depending on the rank of the magic destroyed. With complete mastery of rune magic, he can use magic at full power without casting spells. Another benefit is the ability to copy opponents' skills using a blank card. This eye is clearly a powerhouse with a range of incredible abilities that could transform Jaehyun's abilities as a raider. However, Jaehyun decides to sell the item because it could fetch him hundreds of millions of won as soon as it hits the market. He's relieved that he won't have to work hard or become anyone's meat shield anymore. But he considers trying it on since he's never used a mystical item before. But the system immediately warns him that once equipped, he can never part with it. The item will be stuck forever with him. He knows he can't use it effectively even if he equips it for himself, because he's already past the prime age of 20 for this kind of gear, so he decides against wearing it. After this fortunate encounter, he decides to head back to the party. Shortly after, we see the old man reassures the guild members that his friend will return, and right on cue, Jaehyun arrives. The boy immediately apologizes to the party leader for being late and promises it won't happen again. Once they're ready to proceed, the old man gives Jaehyun a gentle pat on the chest, telling him to perk up. But Jaehyun assures him, saying, "I'm already good to go," and cheerfully mentions that he'll be treating them to drinks tonight. This surprises the old man, who is left scratching his head, completely unsure of what happened to Jaehyun all of a sudden. Meanwhile, Jaehyun is relieved that they don't suspect him for anything. You see, inside the dungeon, where no laws apply, mentioning he found an item could be a death sentence, and even his own friends will not hesitate to snatch the item. So he's doing his best to avoid any unwanted attention. Suddenly, the ceiling starts to crack. Before the party leader can give any orders, it collapses with a crash. Jaehyun instinctively jumps in the opposite direction but ends up crashing to the ground, possibly scratching his butt in the process. The purple mist immediately engulfs the area, and the party members start coughing violently, blood leaking from their mouths. Jaehyun reacts immediately, covering his mouth and deciding to flee before he inhales any of the poisonous fog. He calls out to his friend, urging them to get out because the fog is deadly. As he begins to move, a shocking sight freezes Jaehyun in place. His friend is suddenly pierced by a sword wielded by someone unseen. In his dying moments, the friend tells Jaehyun to run. The horrifying scene petrifies our hero briefly, but he snaps out of it and dashes away as fast as possible. While running, he replays the explosion and the sudden appearance of the gas in his mind. It becomes clear to him that this was an elaborate murder attempt. Once he has escaped the danger, he takes a breather while his face is sweating, and he has no fucking clue why this murder attempt is being happened. Suddenly, our hero notices someone behind him. As the figure comes into view, a fiery arrow shoots forward, not targeting Jae-hyun but crashing into the area in front of him, causing a massive explosion. The guy in the hoodie looks familiar, and Jae-hyun immediately recognizes him as Jung Woo-min. As Jung gathers energy at the tip of his finger, he reminds Jae-hyun that he had promised to meet him today, and here he is. Jae-hyun immediately asks if this was all he was doing, if he was the one who released the poison fog and attacked the Meteor Guild. Jung smirks in response and shamelessly admits he was behind it all. The boy finds himself shocked, but he quickly calms himself down, trying to understand the situation before acting on impulses. So, he asks Jung Woo-min why he did it, to which Jung just shrugs and says his clients told him to do so. Then Jung Woo-min spills that a lot of folks have it out for the Meteor Guild because they've always been high and mighty, looking down on everyone else. Jae-hyun clenches his teeth as he reveals to us about the dungeon assassination contracts. In these kinds of hit jobs, killers exploit the dungeon's close quarters to murder their targets. Apparently, the Meteor Guild's been mixed up in these shady deals as well, which is why they ended up dead. Jae-hyun feels the sting of his injury from the grazed shoulder by the arrow. He's not sure he can go toe-to-toe with Jung Woo-min, because he is an A-rank magician who's in the top 2% of geniuses in the whole country. On the other hand, our hero is just a mid to low-rank player. Even though he knows he's not their main target, Jae-hyun's worried they might try to take him out to tie up loose ends. Of course, like any righteous protagonist, Jae-hyun feels the urge to avenge his comrades, especially Myung-ho. But right now, he's not about to make any reckless moves. He assures Jung Woo-min that he won't spill a word about what happened to the Meteor Guild. Instead of listening, the guy in glasses launches another volley of fire chains. Jae-hyun immediately takes sidesteps to dodge the attack, but his face still gets grazed by the fiery blast. He's certain that even a split-second delay would have meant his end. The crazed magician continues hurling fiery chains aimed directly at Jae-hyun, who keeps running relentlessly, desperate to escape. He's baffled by why he's being targeted, considering he's just a lowly D-rank player. With each passing moment, his face bruises from the onslaught, while the relentless attacker shows no sign of stopping. Suddenly, that voice inside Jae-hyun's head berates him once again, calling him a useless fool and questioning why he even exists. It seems like this man who always appears in his head to insult him is definitely his father. And after seeing his father in his head, something clicks in Jae-hyun's mind, and he boldly asks if his father is behind this assassination attempt. The man with glasses pauses upon hearing Jae-hyun's question, but soon bursts into faint chuckles that escalate into maniacal laughter. He confirms Jae-hyun's suspicion. Jae-hyun is struck silent by this confirmation, his mind flashing with images of his mother. He recalls the heart-wrenching day when he cried bitterly over his mother's lifeless body. He confronts Jung Woo-min, asking if his father ordered the assassination of his mother 5 years ago during winter. The guy with glasses grimly affirms, acknowledging that he can never understand why a father would want his own son and wife dead. Jung Woo-min shoots another arrow at Jae-hyun, teasing him about his situation. He conjures up a bunch of fiery arrows, ready to blast our hero into oblivion, and before throwing down his arrows, he wishes his final goodbye. Jae-hyun stays quiet for a moment, then suddenly activates Odin's eye. Jung's confident smile takes no time and turns into pure shock as he watches Jae-hyun developing magical powers inside him. The magical powers just keep growing stronger without any sign of stopping, leaving the fool with glasses even more terrified. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, Jung decides it's time to take Jae-hyun down. He throws a fiery arrow at Jae-hyun, expecting him to flinch or run, but Jae-hyun stands his ground. As the fire arrow gets dangerously close, it simply disintegrates into nothingness, leaving Jung Woo-min's jaw practically hitting the floor. It looks like the eye has finally been activated, confirmed by the system itself. A sassy smirk spreads across Jae-hyun's face after feeling that surge of power inside his body. The system window pops up once again, mentioning the availability of a blank card. Meanwhile, Jung is losing his composure, baffled at how his magic was nullified so easily. My guy wastes no time and uses the blank card to copy Jung Woo-min's skill, known as Blitz Chain, and makes it abundantly clear that he is going to inflict a painful death over this bastard. In the next moment, he conjures up fiery arrows, while Jung Woo-min struggles to comprehend how his skill, which took him years to master, is being used by this lowly D-ranked raider. Even though he's visibly shaking in his boots, Jung Woo-min warns Jae-hyun that taking him out won't be a walk in the park. The boy unleashes a barrage of fiery arrows, confidently telling Jung Woo-min they'll settle things soon. In retaliation, Glasses Guy fires off his own arrow barrage. Their powers clash, but it